Working Cows Podcast, episode 202.
Welcome to the podcast that gives producers a platform to discuss and share paradigm-challenging practices. Practices that have increased the effectiveness of their operation and the joy that their families have received from this lifestyle.
Howdy, everybody. It's Clay Connery, host of the Working Cows Podcast, powered by the Global Ag Network, here with another episode for you guys. Really excited to continue our series capturing some of the history of northern Meade County and its ranchers who've been doing it a long time. And the guy I'm talking to today is Spud Lemmel. Spud has been on in the area, working in the ranching industry for around 70 years, and so he's got lots of experience and lots of stories to tell, and lots of wisdom and perspective to share. And I'm really excited to share with you this interview. I did this interview back in April, and we were kind of on the front end of starting to worry about the drought that we are now deep in the middle of. And many places around us in D3 or higher, and I think we're strongly into D2, depending on who you ask. Maybe should be a D3 drought. So very, very timely opportunity to just sit down with somebody who's been there, done that, and been through those things. So recorded this at his kitchen table. So far, all of these have been recorded at a kitchen table, and I've got one more done, and another one scheduled to be recorded this week. And so that would be another one at a kitchen table. So been an honor to sit down and do these. And here is, without any further ado, my interview with Spud Lemmel. Where I would like to start is just how you came to be connected to this land. Were you born here? Your family
I wasn't
moved
born
here?
here.
Okay.
We moved here. I think the place was bought in 1942. My stepdad was Chuck Russell. He bought the place, but he wintered. It was the old Hubert Dillard place. He homesteaded here, and we come here. I didn't get here till the fall of 43, and then I've been here ever since. And then my stepdad only lived 10 years, and he got that Bulber-type polio and passed away. They had him in the iron lung down at Hot Springs. And, of course, we didn't have phones, didn't know about it. One of the neighbors told us, and we went down there. He tried to tell us stuff, but he was too far gone. And I'd went for my physical to the service, and I passed it. And then I would have been called to the Army, but the neighbors all got together, and nobody'd run the place, and we had 1,000 head of sheep, and my mother couldn't do it, so they got me deferred, and I never went to the service. Otherwise, I'd have been there. My brother went, but I didn't, and I've run the place ever since he passed away in 1952. He passed away.
Your brother?
My stepdad.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so where were you before you moved here? You said in 1943?
Oh, I was all over. Wherever my dad worked, we went. And I think this was the 10th place that I'd been on.
Huh. And was your dad a hired man on ranches then?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was here when you got here?
We never had this house, I can tell you that. We lived in this other old house down here. And then when I got married in 1953, we lived with my folks for a year or two. And then we built a little old house over on the creek, a basement house. We was in that for several years, and we got flooded out. I should have never built it there. But when you're young, you don't know it all.
Experience is a good teacher, huh?
Yeah.
And you mentioned running sheep. Is that right?
Yeah, we went sheep for years and years.
Yep.
And let's see, when we got in the cattle business, well, Rick still got sheep. I sold mine 2 years ago.
Okay.
But we kept getting smaller because we didn't have enough land and to run cattle and sheep.
Sure.
So
it was strictly sheep there.
Yeah, we strictly sheep, except my mother loved milk cows. And we milked several cows, you know. And I told her, I said, let's get rid of them milk cows. I come in from haying, and we got all them cows to milk.
Yeah.
So we finally did. We kept one, I guess.
Sure.
And I guess it's been sheep until, I don't know, just when we got, 2 years ago, I got rid of the last of mine.
Mm-hmm. And when did the cows come in?
Oh, we just kept gradually getting more cows because the sheep was the money earners in the early days, but then they got pretty slack, you know. They cut out the incentive payment, and the White House seemed like they wanted the money. So,
yeah,
and it was duty free, the money, because you know it didn't cost them anything, you know. Yeah.
What was the land like when you showed up here? Were there a lot of, you know, are the fences in the same places they were, or were there not many fences there at all? Or?
No, there wasn't hardly any fences. Mostly 2-wire, you know. Yeah, we put on all new fences, and some of them needed again.
And the how are the sheep managed, or how are you guys? What was the year in the life of a sheep back then?
Well, we generally sold them. We have kept some till they was 6, but most of the time we sold them as 5s, and then we keep replacement ewe lambs, you know. Were
you lambing in sheep teepes or
no,
jug lambing?
No, never done that. Went all through the shed.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time of year were you lambing?
Well, when my stepdad was alive, we was doing it the 25th of March, and then I backed it up some. It was in April. And now my boy has backed it up till the 20th of May.
Yep.
Which makes sense, you know, because you can't get help no more.
Sure. Yeah.
You're real lucky if you do.
Right. So is he range lambing now then, or are they still going through the shed?
Still goes through the shed. Yeah. He could range. We did it 2 years, and when he was lucky, but it was a dry spring. So this way you can keep better care of your twins and stuff, you know.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. Those range lambs you don't save as many of the twins in that scenario. Yeah.
No. Yeah, and then if you get them cold rains too, you know, that's hard on even especially on a finer wool sheep.
Sure. Yep. I noticed the sheep wagon driving in here today. How are those used?
That was my stepdad. In the 30s, he run cattle for 5 years. He never went nowhere, and he saved $500 in 5 years. So he sold the cattle and went to the sheep, and one time he tripled his money, but most of the time he doubled it. So that's why sheep was here.
Sure.
Well, just about everybody, you know. Ingalls had sheep, and just about everybody, you know.
Yeah. My dad always said there isn't a ranch north of Belfouche that wasn't paid for with sheep, and then I come out here and it's I think it's every direction from Belfouche.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The land was east, west, south. Yeah, all paid for with sheep.
Yeah.
So how are the sheep wagons used, or back then?
When I was a teenager, I herded in it and stayed in it, And they would come down here and hay for Hubert Dillard. And, of course, he wintered his sheep here, 2 winters before he bought the place.
Mm-hmm. And so were you in that sheep wagon all through the summer?
Just the summertime.
Just the summertime. And that's how you said there wasn't many fences, so that's how the sheep were controlled.
You had to be with them, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so did you bed them down at night?
Yeah, I had a, we called it a sleeping cart, was on 2 wheels, and I pulled it with the saddle horse and stayed at night with them, with the sheep, bedded down. Until we got it fenced, this summer range, I don't have it no more. My half-brother got that part up there. Well, I just herded for Chuck because my stepdad.
But what about?
Oh, I lambed. Yeah, I lambed. After we come down here, I went and lambed 6 years for McGuire's. They run a lot of sheep. And Herb Clarkson had at least. And after they retired and went to town. And Herb wanted to quit. He was getting old. And so I talked to them, the McGuire's, if I could lease it. And he wrote me a letter and said, yeah, he'd lease it to me. And that was in, I think, 76, and I've had it ever since.
And so I imagine you rode out some pretty wild storms in the sleeping cart or in
you
the
bet. Yeah, you bet. I had one night. I left it. My wagon was a mile away, and it twisted. I had it staked down. I had chains on it, and it twisted it halfway around. I got scared and went back to the sheep wagon, but it was chained down too, so really it was kind of dangerous there too. But they had, I haven't got it on it anymore, but they had 2x4s on the sides, and that kept it from rocking. They come down and hit the ground, and then the 4 chains real tight. But it never did blow over. But
had an anchor,
yeah,
that you kind of twist into the ground.
Yeah, there was stakes about that long, and you took the chain and measured where it would be tight. Sure. And it made it just a little more, and it was really tight when you drove it in the ground.
Yeah, just a hammer.
Yeah, we had a sledgehammer.
Right. Well, this gumbo gets kind of hard when it's dry.
Yeah,
so you need a big hammer sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long were you out with the sheep? Like from what time of the year?
Well,
spring through the summer? Or?
Spring through the summer. I that one year I was there. I was just pretty young, and I was there 90 days, and got $90. $90, and I bought 10 head of ewes for $9 a head, and that's how I got started in the sheep business. Yeah,
that's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think about starting today? Is it different than it was back then?
Oh, you bet it is.
How so?
To get started, it's a young guy can't hardly do it. The price of land,
right.
You got to have some help from your family. Yeah, it's a hard proposition how to do that.
Yeah. No, it is not easy. Did people think it was hard back then to get started?
It's worse now.
Right.
It is worse. You bet.
Yeah. Was the hay and equipment here all along, or do you remember when the first?
No, we kept buying a little.
Sure.
We started out with a 5 foot mower or a 7 foot mower.
Sickle.
Sickle, yeah.
And pulled by
Well, we pulled it with the tractor.
With the tractor.
We had a little tractor, yeah.
and then a dump rake and loose stacks.
Dump rake and loose stacks.
Mm-hmm.
Then we all went out, I and my brother and Chuck, and pitched all the hay on the hay rack. We had slings on the hay rack, and then we had great big stacks. We'd roll the hay up and then spread it out, and we did that we had alfalfa and two big stacks and prairie hay in another one.
And how was and up to that point when you were still feeding off the loose hay stacks, it was just sheep that you had here? No cows up?
Yeah,
then?
mostly sheep.
Yeah.
Milk cows got a little.
Yeah. Those milk cows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't forget them.
Yeah.
Were you feeding through most of the winter then?
Yeah.
That way?
Corn mostly to the sheep.
Okay.
Yeah. We had homemade troughs we built, and we fed them every morning corn.
Mm-hmm. Like a pound a piece or something? Or
Yeah, we worked them up to a pound.
Yeah. And then you'd wean them off for the summer?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
After.
They kind of, when lambing time, we went to oats.
For milk?
Yeah, for milk, because you can cake the bag on them pretty easy with corn when they're... So...
What do you mean, cake the bag?
well, if you feed them too much, it'll get hard.
Okay.
And you can cause mastitis. You've heard of that.
Yeah, sure. When was the hay being fed to the
It
sheep?
would depend on the winter. If we could graze them, feed them grain, and graze them,
Sure.
that was good. But if you got a bad cover of snow, then
Right.
we hayed.
Yep. And they were pretty much right near the barn, or did they get...
Well, on some of the bottoms real close,
Sure.
know. And if they was in the corral every night in case of blizzard, because sheep will cover up where a cow won't.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I remember when I was probably early in my high school career hearing about some bad winters where
You bet.
those sheep would stack up in those draws,
Yeah.
2 and 3 layers deep.
In fact, we had them right here in the corral. The stockades would fill up with snow, and then blizzards, 3-day blizzards,
Mm-hmm.
And we saved most of them, but once in a while you'd see an air hole,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them got up, but if they was very long, they couldn't take it.
Right. Yep. I remember a video I saw posted of a calf down in a one of those buried under there.
Sure.
And there was an air hole coming up, and it was during the Atlas blizzard, in 2013. But that was I've never seen that personally, but I've seen video of it.
Oh, you bet. And we lost some out here. Lambing one year, they got covered up over here. We got most of them out, but we lost some lambs with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have them again.
Yeah. Have you seen those cycles of weather come and go over the years?
Yeah. 44, I was going, that was my last year of school, 43 and 44. And that winter, the snow never blew. It was about that deep all over. We rode horseback to school, packed 2 Bemis sacks. You know what a Bemis sack is?
Uh-huh.
Well, they're a canvas sack, real tough,
Mm-hmm.
And we just throw 2 of them over the horse's neck, and they could eat that at school while we was there. Then we'd come back at night.
Sure.
That was 44, and 49 was really tough too. But 49, it blew all the time. The caterpillars would come out from town because the fences wasn't good, and they quit the road because it was lower, And they made trails all around, but it seemed like every 3 or 4 days it blew in, and they'd have to do it over.
Yeah. Where'd you go to school?
Before then, I went to Sulphur for quite a few years.
Okay.
But before that, when I was a kid, I was at Marine, and we walked 2.5 miles to school. Mm-hmm. And that was 35 and 36, and that was tough too. Mm. But they had a high school in the same building. It was a small building. And in fact, Calvin Stumproot went there. I don't know if you...
Yeah. I never met him, but
he passed on, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just moved into this country right after he passed away, so I'd been connected through Cedar Canyon Bible Camp for about 11 years now. But no, this will be 10 years. This year is 10 years that I've been connected to this country through Cedar Canyon Bible Camp. So I've heard a lot of these names over the years and gotten acquainted with some of the families.
Oh, I bet so. You bet.
But yeah, I haven't. Some of them I've just heard about and not met them. But 43 and 44 was your last years of high school. Is that right?
Last year, grade school.
Grade school. So 8th grade.
8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to high school then?
I started.
Where at?
At Sturgis.
Okay.
I went till Christmas time, and school was kind of hard for me. Well, Hugh went there. That's the only way I ride back with Hugh and his sisters. And I talked to the principal and see if he'd let me out in April to help Lamb, and he said no. So I quit. Probably was a dumb decision.
Oh, no. I think you did all right.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember it, but I was born on the Borner place.
Where's that sit?
Oh, it's out in the middle of Ronald Miller's pasture.
Okay.
There was different people that stayed there. I guess it was a pretty fair house, but the Roses owned it one time, but I never knew them, Mm-hmm. And then we went to we went to Cedar Canyon. My dad worked there. I probably wasn't there till I was probably a year old or so. And then we moved to Cedar Canyon, and Dad worked there.
Whose place would that be? Sam Michelson's now?
Mrs. Lee. I don't know what happened to her husband, but she run it.
Okay.
And Dad worked there, and then...
Your brother was born there.
Oh, yeah, my brother, we called him Booge. Philip was his name. We all had nicknames.
Right.
And he was born there while we was there. And from there we moved to the old Price place, south of Bob Price. He run the store.
Mm. There at Marine?
At Marine,
yep.
Yeah. And but he had a bunch of trucks, older trucks, and my dad helped haul, him and Harry Fairbanks. They hauled for Bob. A lot of it was coal in the winter because people burnt coal in the stoves,
Sure. Yeah. Hauling bulk coal right to the place, and then...
Yeah, and then they hauled livestock for people, too.
Yeah. Was that coal loaded and unloaded with a shovel, or?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how they did it. They went to Fire Steel. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yep.
They went to Fire Steel, and it burnt. It was good enough coal, but there was a lot they called them clinkers. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're great big things that don't burn, but
okay.
Then you had to take them out and put them in the coal pail and throw them away.
Sure.
And then
that's where Alvin. You had another brother.
Yeah. Then on the old Price place, I had another brother, Alvin, and he got bronchopneumonia, and I don't know how we done it. probably some of the neighbors. Anyway, took him to faith, but he passed away. That was 33, I think.
Yeah, trip by car.
Yeah, some car, because we didn't have much for a car. We did have an old Model B Ford when we moved to Marine. That'd have been the next place.
And were the roads all gravel back then?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And
even the one going to faith.
Right. And is that road kind of in the same place, or is it far from where it used to be?
They moved it some of it's part of it, but they moved a lot of it.
Right.
You know. Especially from Mud Butte on, they went across. It used to come down and go south and go to Old Sulphur. I don't know if you heard of Old Sulphur.
Yep. Yeah, I turn when I come back from town. I turn there at Sulphur.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, we come down that Killdeer Road, and then it tees off a Sulphur cutoff, and you can see the Sulphur store sitting there, and it's still in pretty good shape, really.
Well, I do own it.
Oh, really?
I own the property. Several people bought it, I guess, but anyway, I told them if they ever wanted to sell it, it'd be a stopping place when we trailed home from the summer range. And that's how I got in. I think it cost me $100 an acre, which was high at the time.
Right. But it was a good place to stop and water
You
cattle.
bet. But now, my son's got a truck, Red Lemmel. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yep.
And
Used to watch him ride saddle broncs on TV all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Every year, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, he made it to finals 3 times.
Yeah. I think I watched every one of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I got every round.
Yeah.
But I did. I'm sure I caught him every year he was there.
Yeah. Yeah, he won Belfouche twice.
Yeah.
He never did win the world, but I don't know, I seen him and Dan Mortensen ride, and Ronnie rode the same horse as him, and he never missed a lick, but he made it look so easy on a good bucking kicking horse that the judges thought he wasn't bucking as hard.
Right. Yeah. I understand. Yeah, my brother rode saddle broncs through high school and some afterwards, and so I know what you're saying. If you make it look easy, sometimes you don't score as well.
Yeah, I know. Which ain't fair. I always said that's control. You know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're not getting sloppy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all of my kids rode. Ronnie's the only one that rode saddle bronc. Rick rode bulls, and Rory rode bulls. But now them bulls, I don't know why they ride them. They're just about impossible, some of them.
Yeah. My dad always says it's not the bull riding anymore, it's the bull falling off.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, we always, and I probably offend a bull rider here, but we always get up and leave about the time the bull riding starts because there ain't nobody going to ride anyways.
Yeah, I know. It's just unreal.
Just because I understand it better, the saddle bronc riding's always been the height or the pinnacle of a rodeo for me anyways. That's the best.
Me too.
Most fun I have watching it.
Now, the people up here are pretty much all that way, but down south, the bull riders,
Yeah. Well, you'll get a good crowd to show up for a bronc match anywhere you put one on in this country, it seems like. So, yeah.
Yeah, my boy always puts one on Faith. I don't know if you've ever been to it.
I haven't been to that one, no, but
you'll have to go to it. It's good.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
I suppose they'll have it this year.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, there's so much going on anymore. You don't know. Last year it hurt a lot of the cowboys.
Right.
Because they couldn't. That was
all the rodeos got canceled. Yeah.
Yeah. And now, some of them make a living at it. And but when I was growing up, it was pretty tough.
Yeah. My next door neighbor growing up for about half of my life was Marvin Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
And he told us one time, he said, I keep whatever I make. I spend whatever I make to get to the finals, and then what I make at the finals is what I keep for the year.
You bet. I bet so.
So just the travel, even those guys, rough stock guys, They're aside from the bull riders, the bareback riders had the least to carry. They're still spending everything they make to get to the finals. So
yeah.
So you were mentioning the different places you lived growing up. Were the places smaller back then, or more families on the land
they
back
were
then?
smaller places.
Yeah, not necessarily places, but locations.
Yeah, locations.
Yeah, because then you and Phyllis walked to school from Marine.
From Marine, yeah, we walked to two. I think we said something about that. Didn't we? Walked 2.5 miles. It used to set over there on Haynes's Range, and then I don't know.
Squeak and Mike's place, or
no, it'd be the other Haynes's right along the road.
Yep.
Well, Willard was the dad, then. His boys has got it now. But the schoolhouse, then I don't know when after we left there, they moved it over along 212.
Right. Where it is now?
I don't think there's nothing there now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to it.
Sure. Did you ever get snowed in at the school then?
No. I missed some school,
Sure.
Because it was tough, really tough. And that's why I'm 1 year behind you in school, because I had to take the 1 grade over.
Sure.
It missed too much.
Gotcha.
And then you moved
Then we moved
to Sulphur.
To Sulphur.
Okay.
And, let's see. Yeah, we called it Sulphur, but it was the old Hagelin place. He used to run the maintainer for 212, old 212.
And
there was quite a few buildings there, but we lived in the house there. And my dad worked for Alfie Johnson, which is old Camp Creek. I don't know.
Okay. I've seen
south of Mud Butte.
Right. Yep. Is that living there at Sulphur? Is that where the Sulphur store is now? Or
later on we moved out. I went to the Clark place after that, and then the Carl Settle place. But when school started, we wasn't there very long. They moved a house in from Fairpoint, and that's where I finished till I come here.
You mentioned trailing home from the summer range and stopping over at the Sulphur, where the Sulphur store is now. Were you trailing sheep, cows?
Yeah,
just sheep?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And where was the summer range at?
It was, it was, later on it was McGuire Range. I leased it, but it was the McDonald place, and that's where Chuck owned it. But when we split up, my brother got that.
Sure.
And he ended up selling it to John Paul.
Okay. I know. I've been on that place.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've helped gather.
That's where I heard it was there.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, that's where you had the sheep wagon?
Sheep wagon, yeah.
Did the sheep wagon stay out there after you were done with it for the summer, or did you drag it home?
We generally pulled it into the place,
Sure.
right there at the place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you move that sheep wagon? You said you had the sleeping cart, right?
Yeah.
Did you move the sheep wagon with the horse, or how would you move the sheep wagon when it's time to move it?
Well, Chuck would pull it with the pickup.
Okay.
If we moved the wagon, sometimes we moved it over into the north end of the range, and but we fenced all that in 1947. We put a 5-wire fence around all of it, and we all wood posts. I got in on tamping it.
You got it all done in 1947, huh?
Yeah, the most of it. I split it some after that, after Chuck passed away.
Sure.
I split some pastures. But they were steel posts then.
Yeah.
But now people don't drive them. We drove them. Kenny Post helped me some. He was working for Louis Dubisky, and we kind of traded work back and forth. And him and I drove that, let's see, it was a mile. It was good until we come to the hard pan. It was tough.
Yeah. Right. Did the predators bother you at all with the sheep out there?
Yeah, we had some trouble. Yeah.
Coyotes.
Yeah. But generally when you was with them with wagon, you had the dog there, you was pretty good. But then the coyotes, if they got too thick, could run the dog off. But early in the 40s, they come out where you could shoot them them horses, the old horses, and then put that, they called it 1080. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. Mm-mm. It was a poison. That pretty near cleaned the coyotes out of this part of the country.
So you poisoned the carcass of the horse?
Yeah, they took these long spouts on the guns like that and kind of shaped like a needle on the end. You shoved that into different parts of the meat. And we couldn't do it. It had to be a guy that worked for Game and Fish.
Sure.
But they stopped that when they had some eagle trouble. They said what caused it. I don't know. Anyway,
that's been the story all along, right?
Yeah.
2,4-D and everything gets shut down with the eagles.
Yeah.
You said you had a dog with you. Was it a herding dog?
Yeah, just a herding dog.
Right. Like
I'd never heard of these big dogs. But that's what saved us down here, like Rick's sheep. They're up here 2 miles west of us, and we don't have no trouble. But I think I heard over at Dupree one time, this guy had a lot of sweet clover, and the coyotes was so thick over in there, it run his big dogs to the house. Too many coyotes.
The guardian dogs.
Guard dogs.
Yeah. I suppose that sweet clover's hard for them to.
Oh yeah.
See them coming and get through.
Yeah.
Droughts, fires, things like that. You've had a lot of experience with that kind of.
Darth?
Yeah.
You bet. Yeah. Yeah, generally we've never had to buy hay, but in the 60s it was terrible. And I had to buy some hay down and come out of, where's that place where the watermelons are? I'll think of it maybe. Anyway, there's little square bales and they come out from that. And then I bought some another time, and it was nice looking hay, but I rolled it out, and the cattle wouldn't even eat it. And it was plumb green looking. I don't know what kind of stuff it was, but I come back in here and got some real old bales, and they cleaned it up. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you switch from loose stacks?
What's that?
From loose stacks of hay to round bales then? Was that first, or did you?
No, the round bales was later.
Yeah, that was a switch, though. You went from loose stacks to round bales.
Yeah, to round bales.
Yeah.
Been that way ever since,
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it was. It's a lot faster, and of course we got a swather too.
Yeah, right. Put them in.
But 2 years ago, it was hard to get it up. It rained so much.
Right. Yeah.
We got some of that hay left, and some of it ain't very good. But
right. Little dusty.
Yeah, little dusty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought the part of the old Hanslick place when we moved out here, and Bobby and Tyson Hewitt put that hay up that year that was so wet, and that hay stayed on the place when I moved on there. And I've been shocked the whole time. I don't know how they did it that year, but I had maybe a couple of dusty bales out of that whole deal. It was just the days they got my hay put up was good doing, but I know we had a lot of hay at my dad's place that year that was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's the way ours too.
Yeah.
Now, there's a place down on 34, Darrell, he never got no rain, and it happened. He got his hay up pretty good, but the rest of us.
Yeah. Huh. So you were buying hay to feed during the drought? You were feeding during the drought to get through
We had quite a lot left over, but
right.
I just had to buy a little extra to get us through.
Yeah. and so every year put up hay and don't always use all the hay you put up every year.
No.
But that's kind of your savings account.
You bet. That's what's going to help us this year, you know.
Sure.
We may not get any hay. I hope we do.
Yeah. It could still rain in May.
You bet. And I'm
or what's left of April.
Yeah. And a lot of us, for me, I couldn't afford to dig a big well because it ain't my range that I'm leasing, you know.
Right.
And so I don't have a water line. I got to depend on dugouts and dams, reservoirs.
Sure. Sulphur Creek, are you able to water out of that? Or just too steep on the banks? And
no, it's too steep.
Yeah.
Sheep will get stuck in it. The cows are all right, but it's still. And then if it sets very long and don't rain, it's pretty stout.
Right.
That's like our water here, you know. It's we drink it for years, but it's so hard, and there's some alkaline kind of in it, you know. Mm-hmm. So we buy our drinking water in town now,
right,
and just use it through the bathrooms and shower and stuff.
Yeah, we have when Bobby put that place that we live in. When he put that house in there, he put in a water filtration system just for drinking and cooking. And we do the same thing. We wash our clothes and shower and bathe in the well water, but then everything else gets filtered. And the guy come out to change the filters, and he tested the water. And this is 2 guys now have changed our filters, and they test the water both times. They've said, "Oh, wow."
You just can't hardly get it on this creek, you know.
Yeah. Yep, because we're right on Sulphur Creek. Sulphur Creek's the north boundary of our place. So, yep.
Now you got the whole pasture west of the road.
Right. Yep. Cattle Creek splits that place.
Yeah, Cattle Creek. Yeah.
So, no, I appreciate it taking time to share some of the stories and some of the history that you've witnessed.
If I could remember the years, some guys kept a book, you know, and I wished I had them, you know, for the dates, you know. But I think you
did great. I know the name of the town that grows melons too, and I can't remember it right now either.
Woonsocket.
Yeah.
I can think of it later. Yeah, that's where my hay come in '62, Woonsocket.
Yeah.
Because he was hauling for me. And these people up here on the west of Mud Butte, they was kind of funny old guys, but they had a lot of stock. And he said, I pulled in there one morning and talked to this guy I had this load of hay on for him, and them cattle were strung for miles coming in. And he said, the trucker said to this guy, he said, how many cattle do you have? That's none of your business. He wasn't putting them all in, you know. That's none of your business. So he said, I didn't ask him no more.
How far was it to trail home? Do you remember from?
Oh, let's see, you know, the miles. I could stop at Sulphur with the ewes because they wanted to come home, and I'd be here before dark. But I come across country. I come through on Hanslick's be on the west side, and but I always started on the south, you know, and then crossed over where that bridge is there.
Yeah,
and then I trailed up the road to the Clausen place. But in the spring, it took me a lot longer with using lambs.
Sure.
Know, about 3 days, you know.
Yeah, and trailing them on horse?
Yeah.
And how many people with you? Just you.
Just me.
And a dog.
And a dog.
And a dog.
Where were you, front or back?
What's that?
Were you in the back or the front? When you're
No, I was in the back.
in the back. Yep.
Them ewes, they kind of knew where to go, but
Yeah.
but it was a lot better when we started hauling, because the trouble with, if you had twins, especially, we trailed them separate, but they want to run back to where they sucked last.
Mm.
And when we started hauling, it was a lot better because they didn't run back,
Yep. We bought our ewes. We've got just a few ewes. We're just getting started. And we bought them out of Montana, and they've been range lambed in May their whole life.
Yeah.
And we thought we were going to be helpful to them and pick those lambs up and carry them. And those ewes would go sit right where they dropped that lamb. They weren't going to follow you.
Yeah.
This is where the lamb belongs, and you bring him back here, and I'll take care of him. But if you don't, he's yours.
Have you got a few sheep?
Yeah. I think we're up to. We kept all of our replacements this year, and so we've got like 40, I think, or something like that.
Good.
Yep.
Have you got a dog then?
No, we don't. We have been so far able to keep them, bring them in at night into a fence or something.
Ain't had no trouble in the daytime.
So far, not yet. No, but
Or you're lucky.
we'll see. Yeah, we definitely see the value of a dog, and we might get one in the future when we got a few more sheep. But so far,
Now, you can't believe what they'll save you. Of course, you ain't had no trouble yet, but the times are coming. There's many coyotes as there.
Right.
The plane does come by and helps a lot.
Yep.
They come here, how long ago was
2 weeks ago, I think.
3 weeks ago. They got 20, but they only got 5 on me.
Mm.
They got 3 east of me and 2 west of me. But then they'd come before and every time they come, they'll get some,
Yeah.
There's just no end to them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's for sure. We talked earlier about it being harder to get started today. Are there any ways that ranching is the same, that hasn't changed?
Oh, you do it about the same, all right.
Yeah.
Like Hugh up there, of course, he's got some hired men, but that really must be a job where they weigh every calf. I don't see how they can.
Yeah. That registered business is a different business. That's for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've all done good, but there's a lot of people go into it. There must be money in it, but I don't know how they get all the bulls sold anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of people selling bulls. That's for sure.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I know Floyd Kamak. I forget now how many, but he got a stack that high. People that sent him bull things. He just kept them, and I forget the number. He'll probably tell you.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah.
How'd you fight fires when you were young?
We just used a gunny sack and had
A bucket of water?
They come out with a little Indian firefighter. We had 1 or 2 of them. Ray Hanslick, he used one every time he went to it, but I finally went just to the sack and had it soaked in 5-gallon bucket.
Right.
And come behind, of course, she was a foot,
Mm-hmm.
And we had a fire go back through here. Oh, gosh. I don't remember when it come, but it burnt clear across down there.
Mm.
And we went up there and with the old pickup and fought, put out the hot spots, generally. Cow manure and stuff like that, that
Sure, burn for days.
Yeah. And that is one thing that's really changed with the fire departments.
Yeah.
That was a real good deal, I felt for them people, though, the other day in that wind, I don't know how you could control that.
Yep.
You could lose your life,
Not worth it.
No.
Yeah. Did those fire departments kind of get organized while you were during your lifetime? Is that?
Yeah. They just kept getting more of them. They call this one the Sulphur Creek, that one building over at Rick's. That belongs to the inning deal.
Okay.
Rick helped put it up and all that stuff. We got a fire truck in there. And I and Dwayne Vig was on it. We're still on it, but we don't do nothing now. A young guy, Will Monroe, and Rick.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess if we haven't missed any too important stories, or
Oh, I probably did. There's so much went on.
Yeah.
But we'll be back.
Well, we enjoy having you. Thanks for taking the time and letting me come and capture some of this.
Well, if I could remember the dates on that stuff would help.
You only missed one, I think, and then when the round baler showed up. But that was everything. You had the 1962 is when you bought hay out of Woonsocket.
Yeah, 61 too. I think I bought some, and then 62. Then the creek flooded, and we got hay after I bought that.
Yeah.
But it didn't start till, I think it was June before we got that heavy rain. Yeah, one time when I'd lambed at McGuire's, I come back home. I guess I didn't tell you that, did I? When we bucked all the bucker piles in Sulphur Creek. It just rained and rained, and it just wasn't nothing left there. It just wouldn't quit raining. I think that was 47.
And the bucker piles, is that what dump rake put out? Or
Oh no, we had a sweep.
Oh,
We had a sweep, we called it, and it sat on the front of the tractor, and we'd buck them windrows up and leave them,
sure.
and then we'd take push them to we had an overshot. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
There's one still sitting on that place of mine.
Oh, I bet there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'd build them stacks. Somebody got on them, but later on, some guys had a thing they put around them, and we never did. We just got on the stack and stacked it.
Yep. Did those loose hay stacks ever burn? If you put them,
we never did lose one. Charlie Wise up here had one up just between. I had land above him, and he had land between me. And when lightning struck one of his one time, we never did lose one, but we could have.
They weren't as prone to getting too hot like a round bale will.
No. In fact, I still swear that that's the best tape I ever put up.
Yeah. Well, it sheds water so much better, right?
Yeah.
Just the top little bit of it's kind of.
Yeah, it was unreal how that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, them little square bales, if they get wet, that's bad.
Ruin the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, it ruins them.
Yeah, but that's a lot of work feeding that.
That's why some of the kids left home. Idiot bales, they call them.
Yeah.
And same way with milking cows, she was tied down.
Yeah. My father-in-law grew up on a dairy in Spearfish, and he said that was the best juvenile detention program he ever heard of, was keeping kids on the dairy. And then he said when the last of the siblings left home, so did the dairy cows magically. There were no more dairy cows after the kids were gone to help with the milking.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
My equivalent of that is after my brother and I left home, my dad got a skid steer and put a hydrant in the barn. Before that, it was 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah, I know. That's the way I used to do the sheep in the shed. We well, first we had to carry. We had an old thing. We had 9 50-gallon barrels of water, and my brother, he'd go out there, and that was his job. Had a 3-gallon bucket on a pitchfork handle. And you filled it that way, dipped in and filled it that way. That's what he was hauling.
Wow.
That way, he was steady doing that, That'd
make you stout.
Yeah. Yeah, but after we got the hydrants in, that helped a lot, but you still had to.
Yeah.
I didn't have them things in the shed to water them. I just had rubber buckets, and we'd put it on a hose and fill them that way.
Did you feed the sheep the loose hay every day?
Yeah.
Yep. So you go out there.
Mostly alfalfa, we had a lot of it.
And that was in a loose stack?
Yeah.
And throw it onto the wagon and then take it to them and throw it on?
Yeah, we had some feed bunks we'd made out of old boards. It was about this wide, and some of them was 12 feet and some was 16 feet. We'd drive the hay, pitch it on the hay rack and drive down and fill them bunks. And every day we done that.
You know how much hay was going in?
Oh, yeah, I can't remember how many feed racks we had. We had a bunch of them, but we done that for a long time.
What were the slings? You said you had slings on there.
Oh, that's on the hay rack. We had 2 sets of slings. When you got up to the bottom part of the rack, or the top part of the rack, we had a set. We had one on the bottom floor, and then one up, a double sling up there, and we'd pull them off, and we had ropes tied to the slings. If you wanted to go clear to the top, you held them on your back while they pulled them up with the old tractor.
Yeah. Bobby Hanslick was telling me about putting up loose haystacks one time, and he said his dad would put him in the bucket of the tractor and put him up on top of the haystack to finish it off. And he said one time his dad came by with another load of hay to dump on top of there, and he dumped 3 rattlesnakes on top of that loose haystack with him.
I've had that happen. Never had 3, but I've had 1. Boy, you get spooky.
Yeah. He said he bailed off the haystack, and his dad yelled at him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "There's 3 rattlesnakes."
Gee whiz.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, yeah, thank you. I'll get out of your hair for
that's
lunch,
fine.
but I appreciate
nice to visit with you.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Very good stuff there. Continue to kind of just be amazed at the wisdom and the depth of understanding that these guys display and share. And again, hearing Spud say that the only time he remembers having to buy hay is in 1961 or 2, and that's just a testament to a long track record of making solid decisions, and so really excited to share with you next week my interview with Hugh Ingalls along these same lines, and then I got one more scheduled, Lord willing, with Floyd and Donna Kamak that I'll share the week after that, and then we'll get back to some of the paradigm challenging practices that you guys are used to, but I think it's really important to capture some of this history, and looking forward to maybe seeing this project grow a little bit. We'll see where it goes from here, but we'll look forward to seeing you again real soon with another episode of the Working Cows Podcast.
We invite you to visit workingcows.net to subscribe to the show via iTunes or Stitcher. You'll also find detailed show notes pages, resources from our guests, and the industry leaders who have influenced them. For more ideas on putting your cows to work for you in a more profitable way, tune in next week.